This episode of Gather and Go is brought to you by Visit Atlantic City. Live to explore in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Atlantic City welcomes one and all to the seaside destination where local spirits are connected and the celebrations are unforgettable. Learn more at visitatlanticcity.com. Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome to Gather and Go, the podcast that helps you plan, promote, and lead better trips. I'm Brian Jewell. I am your host. I am really happy to be here today. Really happy you are here. And really happy to introduce you to today's featured conversation guest, Micky Kandola. Micky is a tour director and an expert on using AI in tourism. If you are one of the people wondering how AI might affect or is affecting the group travel industry, Micky has some great news and some great insight for you. When you listen to today's episode, you're going to hear his thoughts on how artificial intelligence has revolutionized his work as a tour director. He's going to share some AI hacks and tools that are winning him rave reviews with travelers. And he's going to share how he sees AI impacting the tour industry in the future. This is a really fun conversation you are definitely going to want to hear. First, though, let's get into some travel news you may have missed. Federal workforce cuts could spell trouble for the national parks. The federal hiring freeze put in place by the Trump administration could leave national parks understaffed during their peak visitor seasons. Seasonal workers at U.S. national parks and historic sites saw their job offers for 2025 rescinded as a result of the hiring freeze. According to the National Parks Conservation Association, the action impacted seasonal park rangers, visitor center employees, cleaners, and other staff categories. The association says that at least 1,000 seasonal job offers were rescinded in February. Coupled with normal retirements and the prospect of park service employees taking the Trump administration buyout offer, the cuts in staffing could make it difficult for the country's most popular parks to provide essential services during busy seasons. Visitation to national parks has been growing since the pandemic, with an increase of 13 million visits between 2022 and 2023 alone. But park staffing has not kept pace with the growth, and some observers say understaffing at parks has already led to a reduction in maintenance, resource protection, and ranger-led programs. Well, now it's time for the road tip segment of our show. This is the part of every episode where we dig deep into our bag of travel knowledge from decades on the road and bring you tips to make your next trip less stressful and more successful. You know, I'll be honest with you all, sometimes I am a little late to the game, especially when it comes to adopting technology. Believe it or not, I am not the earliest tech adopter. If I was, maybe we would have started this podcast, in 2010 or something. But regardless of that, I want to tell you about my new favorite tech tool on the road. And this actually has to do with how I pay for things as I travel. You know, when you travel, you're going to be paying for things often multiple times a day, ranging from a quick drink, a bottle of water, all the way up to your hotel stay, restaurant bill, et cetera, et cetera. And if you're like many people, you are probably paying with a credit card, a debit card, some sort of plastic payment. Well, on a recent trip at the end of last year, I started experimenting with a tool that maybe some of you have used for quite a long time, and that is mobile phone tap to pay systems. Now, I'm an iPhone user, and for me, that means experimenting with Apple Pay. And I got to tell you, it is changing the game when I travel. I have quickly become a big fan of Apple Pay. I actually think Apple Pay or mobile tap to pay in general might be the very best way to pay for things when you travel. I want to give you a few reasons why. Number one is just the simple convenience of it. I never go anywhere without my phone. I'm sure you don't either. I already have my phone with me when I travel. I very often already have it in my hand when I'm in an airport or a gas station or some other place like that where I may be paying for something. And so the convenience of using that phone to pay instead of having to pull another method of payment out of my pocket or out of my wallet is a big deal. In fact, it actually allows me to travel with fewer things in my pocket. If I know I can pay with my phone wherever I go, well, I don't need to pack my wallet in my pocket. I don't need all the extra bulk of that. I have a very streamlined pocket. It's easier to move around, and I'm carrying less stuff. I have to remember fewer things when I leave the hotel room in the morning. Another thing I love about mobile tap to pay is it's a lot faster than paying with credit card. I don't have to stick my card in a slot or swipe it anywhere. I just hold my phone up to the reader, press a button, and the payment goes through almost automatically. It's really, really fast. I also like that tap to pay is significantly more secure. Now, credit card payments in general have been getting more secure over recent years with the advent of chip cards. That's a good thing. But what's even more secure than that is tap to pay, because your phone uses biometrics to confirm your identity, to confirm that you are really you. So if someone steals your credit card, if you lose your credit card and somebody else picks it up, they can use that physical card to make purchases that are obviously not authorized. But nobody can make unauthorized purchases with your mobile tap to pay, because your mobile phone is going to confirm your identity through something like Face ID or a fingerprint ID or entering your password on the phone. It's going to confirm your identity before the payment goes through. And that gives you more security, especially perhaps if you are far from home, traveling abroad, or in a place where security is extra important. Another thing I like about using mobile tap to pay is that I am less likely to lose my phone than I am a credit card. Credit cards go in and out of my wallet or my pocket all the time, and the more often something goes in and out, and the smaller it is, the more likely I am to forget it, misplace it, lose it. That's not a risk. That is an issue with my phone. Like many of you, my phone is my connection to the world. I never go anywhere without it. I'm always very aware of where it is. And because it's big and because I can feel it in my pocket at all times, I'm not going to lose it. And when you travel, if you lose a physical credit card, that is going to be a bit of a hassle, if not a nightmare, to try to find the card, call the card issuer, cancel the card, replace the card. You don't want to mess with that. I don't have to mess with it if I'm paying with that card in the digital wallet on my phone. And finally, a reason why I am really a fan of this these days is because of widespread acceptance. You know, when mobile tap to pay first hit the scene maybe 5 or 6 years ago, it was not accepted in many places. And that made it kind of hit or miss whether you could use it. And so it got to sort of be really not worth the effort of trying to make that your primary form of payment. These days, though, it's rare I go someplace where I can't tap to pay. And most places that you could tap with a physical credit card, you can also tap with that mobile phone. And maybe more than anything else, this is what has made the late adopter in me finally agree that mobile tap to pay is the way to go when I travel, because it's accepted in so many places. In addition to the convenience and the security, it has become my go-to method of payment on the road. Now, if you are running tours and accepting payments from people on the road, let me highly suggest that you invest in one of the digital payment machines like a Square Reader or something like that, that accepts tap to pay, because more and more people are going to be looking to use that. And if you ask them to insert or swipe a credit card, well, it slows down your process. And it might give them the impression as well that you are a little bit behind the times. So whether you are a payer or a payee, I'm a big fan of the mobile tap to pay. I hope you will check it out as well. That is your road tip of the week. Now, before we move on, I want to take just a minute and give you a little bit of news from us. If you are new to the podcast, number one, welcome. We're really glad to have you in our group travel community. But if you're new to the podcast, maybe new to group travel or tourism overall, I want to tell you about a resource we have just for you. This is the Start Here page on our website, and it has a ton of free stuff to help you get started or grow your career as a tourism entrepreneur, a group travel coordinator, planner, any kind of tourism professional. If you go to grouptravelleader.com/start, you are going to find a bunch of resources such as our most popular PDF downloads. These are ebooks such as Travel Free and Bring Your Friends, a whole bunch of group games that you can play with your groups as you ride down the road in a motor coach. We've got our buyer's guide for the group travel industry. They're all free to download, and they're all available right there on the Start Here page. You're going to get links to some of our best podcast episodes with great actionable intelligence for your company. You're going to see some of our most insightful articles that will make you a more effective tourism professional. We've got a list of some of our available familiarization tour opportunities, which is something you're definitely going to want to see. And you can sign up for our e-newsletters, subscribe to our print magazines, and much more. That's all at grouptravelleader.com/start. Don't worry, I'm going to put that link in the show notes. If you are new to the group travel community, this is the place for you. grouptravelleader.com/start. Well, it's just about time for us to get into our featured conversation with Micky Kandola. Now, as we do, I want to let you know you don't need to worry about taking notes because I'm making note of some of the most important aspects of that conversation. As always, you can find that information in the show notes for this episode. And I'm also going to come back at the end of the interview and do a quick wrap up of some of the most insightful things Micky had to say. And I hope you'll stick around to the end of that wrap up because when we're done, I'm going to take just a moment to tell you about the biggest opportunity your travel company is probably missing. That's going to be the topic of today's Hot Minute. You won't want to miss that. We'll be right back with Micky Kandola. Atlantic City is ready to celebrate life's greatest moments with thrilling year-round events and attractions. With 24-hour gaming at 9 casino resorts and stellar entertainment throughout, Atlantic City is sure to provide iconic celebrations. Historic, wooden, and more than 5 miles long, the Atlantic City Boardwalk attracts visitors from all around the world as they create their own waterfront memories. You can stroll the wooden way by foot, on a bicycle, or via the legendary rolling chair. Bask in the glowing sun, take a dip in the Atlantic Ocean, or stroll along the white sandy beaches to find the perfect seashell. At the famous and free beaches of Atlantic City, adventure is on the horizon. Known for its thriving culinary scene, Atlantic City welcomes all to explore its famous dining establishments. From celebrity chef hotspots to locally owned eateries, Atlantic City's restaurants are well equipped to accommodate special events for large or small groups, served in unique spaces. Start planning your Atlantic City trip at visitatlanticcity.com. All right, everybody. My guest today is a certified international tour manager who has been guiding groups through the US, Canada, and other destinations for nearly a decade. He's one of the field's leading technological innovators and trains tour directors around the world on how to leverage artificial intelligence to enhance their trips and give customers memorable experiences. Micky Kandola, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Brian, how's it going?
I am great. I'm so excited to have you here, excited to talk about artificial intelligence today, because it's a topic that a lot of people are scared of, a lot of people are excited about. Some people have no idea what to think about it. I heard you present on the topic at a conference last year, and I thought this is somebody that our audience needs to hear from. So before we get deep into it, I just would love to hear kind of from a high level, what inspired you to embrace artificial intelligence when so many other people are kind of nervous about it?
Well, what happened was my cousin told me, well, I heard about ChatGPT. I never used it a few years ago. And then my cousin was telling me how much time it saved him. And the way my brain's wired is I have no fear of trying new things. And so I also try things very, very quickly. So that's one of my strengths is I don't worry if I get it perfect. I just try it out.
Yeah.
And as I tried it, it was so easy for me to use. And I saw the benefits within like 10 seconds. And I was like, wow, this is a complete game changer. I can't believe more people don't know about this. And that's what led me to start teaching more people and tour directors and speaking at conferences about AI, specifically ChatGPT, but there are other ones that are good as well on that way. But and then the results have been phenomenal.
That's amazing. So do you feel like that instinct to try new things Is that something that's just hardwired into your personality, or have you sort of trained yourself to be open that way over time?
It's interesting because I've been a realtor for 14 years as well, and one of the trainings I did was I bought a personality test, and it was very, very intense. And one of the things in there was I'm a refiner, so I guess that's how you're wired, eh?
Hmm.
But I'm a refiner, so I find if there's a better way to do things, my brain just automatically gears onto that. And I think that's what one of the things that helps me is I'm able to see right away a benefit in something, and it might be a personality thing. I have ADD, so we're always trying new things all the time.
Yeah.
So we're good at starting things, not the best at finishing things, but no fear of trying new things. Oh, look, it's a shiny object. Let's try this. Let's play with this. But this object I've been playing with for a couple of years, and every time I do a presentation or a talk about it, I just learn more because I need to prepare for that. And so
Yeah.
I'm always learning.
Yeah. So one of the beautiful things about a tour when it works, when it runs well, is the customer just shows up and things are seamless and it feels like magic. And the tour director is effortless and breezy and fun. And the customer never has to think about that prep work or how much went into it. So for our listeners who maybe have never thought about it, don't know what it entails, give us an overview of what is that prep work? What are you doing behind the scenes? And how much time does that involve?
Yeah, there's a great deal of prep work. Just off the top of my head, um, before even the tour starts, you're doing confirmation emails. You're double checking the itinerary to make sure it's accurate, seeing if there's any mistakes. You're seeing when I look at an itinerary, I look at what is the customer going to complain about. How
Mm,
do I set the expectations as low as possible? You know what I mean? And
yeah.
as well, under promise, over deliver. And then it's all, sometime every tour, if I haven't done a tour before, even if I've been there before, my commentary, I change my commentary up. My welcome letters, I spend a lot of time on. ChatGPT helps with that as well. It's still time consuming because I believe putting everything in writing because I
Mm,
can't remember the same thing every time. So I try to make it more like McDonald's in a
mm,
way. And one way, not you still customize it, but I have a systematic process. So because I can't count on myself to remember everything, and at least
mm.
I put it in writing, that I don't get blamed for things.
Yeah, you sound like me these days. If I don't have something written down, it may as well not exist because my brain's not going to keep track of it on its own.
Yeah,
That's for
exactly.
sure.
So
Yeah.
some tour directing, just my own opinion, is like a lawyer. You're managing your risk, and my
Mm,
risk is, hey, you didn't tell me this or you didn't tell me that. And from having when you get a complaint, and it's because when you get a complaint, whether it's your fault or not, if there's anything I could do to not have the complaint next time, then I want to do that. So it's a lot of prep work on that end, and then before the tour even starts, and then you're prepping for the day, you're reviewing your commentary. I have probably 1,000 things on there. Pretty much every tour, I make ridiculously the checklist, like every little thing, like drink this protein shake, do this, because I want to make sure my templates are there for my health, for my morning routine, for my whole tour, and for post tour. So there's certain things that happen every single day, certain things that don't happen. So I probably got a good like 50 to 100 tasks to do every single day, and I don't want to forget them. And then after the day I review that, then I need to prep for the next day, the commentary, the tasks, and all that stuff. So in the off season, I want to spend some time to streamline that process a bit more on the tasks as well. So there's so many more things that I'm not even mentioning, but it's very
yeah.
involved, and a lot of people don't know. Tour directors, we don't get paid for a lot of the prep work that we do, and also the post tour paperwork and stuff and all that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of extra work, and for that, it has to be more of a passion, I think, than just a way to make money.
Yeah. That's really good to know. And, listeners, next time you're on a tour, if you ask your tour director if he wants to go have a drink with you and he politely declines, sounds like it might be because he's got work to do for the next day. So
Yes.
that's really good to know.
Or they
So,
or they just don't like you. No, I'm kidding.
okay. So, in tourism, as much as in any other field, there are people saying AI is going to take all our jobs, right? It's going to put us all out of work. Especially, AI is going to take the jobs of tour operators, travel agents, and tour directors. How do you think about that topic? Are you nervous about it, or do you think, oh no, my career is safe?
I mean, the people that say AI is going to take our jobs, those are the guests that are pretty much downloading an app and doing it their own. This is about, first of all, this is about getting a tour operator to reduce your costs by about 30 to 40% from doing it yourself. And tour direct, I think you need some humans to do that, and with AI as well. And it'll become more. But on a tour, people need a human contact. So even the commentary is not the most important thing I do. The most important thing I do is connect my guests and make sure they know that they're taken care of. One of the first things I say to them: "You made a great decision getting this tour, and you're in great hands. So don't worry, I got you." And that's important, that human connection. And the things that people remember the most are not all the stories. I don't remember much in Italy. I'm going again to learn on my own next month, but I don't remember much in Italy. What he said, I remember I smiled because Buddy took care of me. Buddy's got my back, and he made me laugh, and he's such a nice guy. I still have a smile in my head when I think about him, right? Yeah. And that's what people will have about you, and everyone's different in that way. And AI can't do that, Unless they make robots 90 years from now, well, the fair enough, right? But not right now. There's something about human beings that we want a human being doing it. You know what I mean? Even if an AI can do a really good job, how are they going to direct tours and be that person on the ground? That doesn't make any sense to me. So I think of it as a tool. I don't think of it as a replacement.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. So you said it must have been a couple years ago when, was it your brother or a friend or somebody told you about ChatGPT?
Awesome.
Yeah. And you tried it out and you said you immediately saw potential for tour directors. So can you remember the first thing you realized that this tool could do to make your life easier as a tour director?
Oh yeah, commentary. So, I'd be like, hey, tell me that I was researching a Newfoundland tour, right? And I was just, I think a few years ago, I just did a training tour. And then I I wrote down everything the guide said. So I would just could go back. And I found out there's a lot of inconsistencies and mistakes in there, right? So I stopped looking at Buddy's notes, and then I started doing some of my own research. But ChatGPT really sped that up quite a bit. And I'd be like, okay, from this point to this point on the highway, the Viking highway, I forgot what it's called, sorry. What are some of the topics I can talk about? What about this small town? What stories do they have? So every place is a story, right? Most likely. So then I'm like, I just saw the world open, like, oh my God, I can get so many stories that I wouldn't do because I have no time. I don't have enough time to do all that. That's crazy amount of work. And I can get that much, much faster, right? And so right away, it was commentary. I had pictures of placards on my training tour, and I would just dump it into ChatGPT and be like, hey, can you make some commentary about this one? And using that information in the placard or whatever it is. And it would take that and then add its own information. I'm like, wow. And then right from there, that was just a start.
Yeah. So does ChatGPT understand, do you ask it, give me a tour director commentary for this stretch of highway? Or do you just have to say, I need some information about, Calgary, and then you have to sort that out yourself?
So it's like garbage in, garbage out. I give it context. I talk to it like I'm talking to you. All right. I just think of it like your buddy or your human being. And you don't even need to have proper grammar. Like, hey man, I need some, I'll even talk to it, right? You have a voice function on your phone. Hey man, I'm a tour director in Canada. My name's Micky, pretend you're me, and give a narrative, interesting story about whatever, blah, 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 blah. And make sure that, you focus on, you make it very thorough and add a lot of details, but make it interesting because facts tell and stories sell. I'll say it just like that, for example, right? Just give me off the top of my head. And then put it in point form and bold the main word so I can look at it really quickly and talk. Because I'm always thinking, what is the least amount of work I can do to get the result?
So you mentioned commentary. That was a great place to start. I know you found at least a dozen other applications of this tech and, sort of sister technologies that might link up with ChatGPT, integrate with it. Can you give us another handful of examples for how you're using this tech in your work as a tour director?
Yeah, there's so many ways. I can't even count. So, for example, I don't know, for tour directing in the East Coast, Ontario, Quebec, there's a lot of boring drives. So it's like, what can I do for games of old? I don't know if when you were growing up, you like The Price is Right or Wheel of Fortune, or Family Feud. I love Family Feud, Jeopardy. And so I'm like, how do I do some of those games? And I figured it out with ChatGPT how to do that extremely quickly. And now I'm going to test it out for this year on some of the tours and see how it'll work. And it can give trivia very, 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 very quickly. I read something I just learned about recently. It can actually summarize and give you commentary on PDF books. So if you can get an electronic book on Kindle, and there's a way to just Google how to convert it to PDF if you bought it, then it can summarize that book for you, or just give you commentary topics, and then saves you a lot of time if you don't want to read it, right?
Yeah.
As well. Trivia, there's survey scores, for example. Rather than reading your whole survey and then and being angry at the one person that hates you, that you just put it all in ChatGPT, analyzes the whole spreadsheet for you, however they give it to you, and tells you what you did well, what you could do better, and what are some practical ways that you take the negative feedback and say, what are the constructive ways I can mitigate this in the future, or what can I do to get better feedback on my surveys? And I'll tell you, and it's really, really smart at doing that, And so I read it and then ask ChatGPT as well. Problem solving on the road, questions on the road. I always tell people, if I look, believe it or not, I don't know everything. I know it's hard to believe. I have two options for you. I can either look it up or I can make it up, and either one's fine with me. So if I look it up, GPT is right there, And if I'm in the mountains with no service, then they have no option. I will make it up.
Yeah. I'm sure they appreciate that honesty too.
I find it's all how you sell it, right? And if you're genuine. So selling to me is about being genuine and honest. And when they believe you and they know you're honest and they know they can trust your word, then everything gets really easy and you get a lot more grace,
Yeah.
And so rather than making something up or something like that, just let people know. And a little humor doesn't hurt. That's kind of one of my things I'm just naturally do.
Yeah.
And people are there to have a really good time.
Yeah. You mentioned those post-trip evaluations and having ChatGPT help you with those. I assume you probably still read them. Read them yourself first. Have you found that by uploading them and asking the AI to analyze them, that it recognizes some trends that maybe didn't jump out to you when you were physically reading them on paper?
Oh, way more than that. Trends, like it'll break down so many different. I can't even remember all the ways it broke down. I just presented on it like a month ago, and I'll say trends, and I'll give examples of little snippets of what they're doing. It'll give you like a full report on so many different ways, and I ask it, hey, I want what I can do better, what I didn't do well, practical examples, trends, and anything else you think is useful for me. And it'll come up with 3 or 4 different things. So think of it like your super smart friend, okay, the smartest person in the world. You know what I mean? And think of it like a mutant, the X-Men or something, And it's like super smart. It knows everything. It knows so much. And then just ask it to add its own knowledge, right? So I go, hey, this is what I know. Now add whatever you think and give it back to me, and then play with it. It's like ping pong.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. Now, something I've heard you talk about that I didn't know existed, honestly, until I heard you present on it, was all these tools that integrate with ChatGPT, third-party programs and apps and stuff. So in addition to the main LLM, the sort of chat interface, what are some of those third-party tools that you find yourself using, integrations that are helpful? I think you've talked about maps before and being able to create maps to give to your customers. Give us some of those ideas and how they're working for you.
Well, there's so many, and what you're referring to is in ChatGPT. If you click on the left-hand side, you'll see Explore GPTs, and that's kind of like your app store, where you don't really need to pay for much. And so, for example, there's one. See, ChatGPT has a lot of limitations. Okay, so it's like like Lord of the Rings, the Eye of Sauron, right? It's always looking around, But then it needs like a real. It needs to focus, on one thing, and it's hard to do that with ChatGPT. So then you have third-party apps that kind of put like a little binoculars on the Eye of Sauron, and then you can like really hone in and really go deep, and then you could see really clearly. So that's a horrible analogy, but that's the best thing I can say off the top of my head. Third party, for example, it can't read whole PDF documents and summarize, give commentary on it. But with a third party app called, I forgot off the top of my head, it's one of the first ones, API PDF or something like that. Just if you go on third party, you'll find it. Just type in PDF and look at the reviews and how many people use it. It can actually, I upload a document, and in 10 seconds, it will give me a summary. I ask it, what topics from this document can I talk about? Because I never read the document, and I'm not going to read the document. It's boring, right? It's going to take me like 5 hours. And it'll tell me all the topics, and they'll give commentary on those topics if I prompt it to do so. So it's all about what the prompts are that you're using or the questions. One that I use personally on the road and at home is a therapy app.
Mm.
So on the road, I find I don't have time to deal with issues. We always, as tour directors, we hold a lot of things in, and we're on all the time. We're on all the time, and then you carry a lot of things that you don't know. That's why a lot of tour directors, if you talk to when they're home after a tour, like, don't talk to me for 2 days. I'm not good for humans for 1 or 2 days. That's pretty common with tour directing. So I find using this therapy app, for example, I journal. I try to journal 10 minutes a day, most days, and I journal and I put it into this therapy app called Therapist Psychologist something. It's really, really good. Excellent. It's the best thing I've ever seen on ChatGPT for my personal, that I personally think is benefiting me. And then I'll talk to you like a therapist and break things down to you and ask you questions and delve deeper. And you can even talk to it and I'll talk to you like a person. It's amazing. There's ones to analyze spreadsheets better. There's ones to summarize books. It doesn't give ChatGPT won't give you Google links on Google Maps for suggestion of go to this restaurant. I'll use this other one, this other app called Google or something on there. If you mess around there, you'll find it. And what it'll do is it'll give me the Google link from where I'm starting to where I'm ending. So it'll save me that time. So anything you could think to save you time, it could do. I'll give you an example. There's so many, but just off the top of my head, a Via Rail, right? We use a Via Rail train.
Mm-hmm.
And the Via Rail train has tickets, and there's like maybe, I don't know, like everywhere everyone's seating and everything is a few pages. And what I like to do, I don't want to tell people where they're seated to save me time. I put it into ChatGPT and I'm like, just make a table of who's seating where and which car. It'll make the table. I print it out, give it to the guests. Wow. And then that's another question I don't get. And so I'm all about efficiency there. And ChatGPT regularly has a hard time doing that, but now it's much better because I tested it out last year. It was horrible. Now this year, boom, like that.
Yeah.
And something that work now, it might work in the future.
That's a good note. You've told me before about using a similar map function. If you're going to have free time in a city and your clients are going to ask, where should we go for lunch? Having something you've prepared using an AI tool to print it out and give it to them. And, here's 10 great restaurant recommendations. How does that work?
So very simple. So I have my own in the city as well. But let's just say, let's make assumption. Let's say I've never been anywhere before. Let's say I'm in Kentucky. Okay. Mm-hmm. You're in Kentucky, right?
Yeah.
So let's say I'm in Kentucky and I'm in a certain city in Kentucky. And what's a big city in Kentucky? Louisville, Kentucky, right?
Yeah.
So let's say I'm in Louisville. I have no idea anything about Louisville except KFC, So I'm in Louisville and I'll be like, okay, I'm staying at, what's a nice hotel in Louisville? You know anything?
The Seelbach.
Okay, the Seelbach. I'm at the Seelbach at blah, blah, blah address because maybe there's two. I don't know, right? And I'm looking for, and this is a prompt, meaning a direction you put into ChatGPT. And I'm looking for, and I guess that are probably about 70, so seniors, right, in general. And so I'm looking for anything within 15-minute walking from this hotel, right? So give it directions. So what I need is an explanation. Any restaurant suggestions you think are good. Put a $sign for cheap, $2 for medium, just like Google does.
Yeah.
And also check the Google reviews to make sure it's good and give me the Google review score as well. In addition, tell me what are the main dishes in the restaurant, a little bit about the restaurant, a little blurb about it. And then give me the typed out Google link for this, not the link that you just press, but just give me the typed out link. I can copy it onto Microsoft Word and then I can put it as an e-file. So they just have a QR code and they go there and they just click on that and it'll go right on their map. Something like that. I'm just going really a little bit maybe too much in depth. And then if I ask you to do that, you tell me to kick rocks, right? If I ask ChatGPT to do that, boom, it happens very quickly. It was a perfect no. Now, something I learned this year, I always used to check. I still check with Google because I have a little bit of OCD as well. I have all the D's, ADD, OCD. So anyways, I'm out there. I'm checking Google and all that, making sure the walking directions. And this year, my last couple of tours, it's been excellent when I used that third party to get the Google direction. It's been excellent to tell me to do that as well. And then it'll tell me dining suggestions. Now I'll be like, okay, but and then I'll go on Google, let's say, and there's a couple more. How about this one and this one? Can you add that in? And what about these ones? What about, I have a friend, I have, Brian's my buddy in Kentucky and he's near Louisville. He said this and this one. Can you tell me those things? Now also tell me in Kentucky, every place has dishes that are famous for that, like New Orleans has Banana Foster, Po' Boys, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure Kentucky has that as well. You guys have your own special barbecue. So
Yeah.
is there any dishes you recommend also they try, and also where they can get them close to the hotel? Boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom. So try to think of everything the guest would want and put it in writing. And then you have it prepared. And if you have multiple tours there, you just do the work once.
Yeah.
And there you go. You just update it every year.
That's amazing because, 5 years ago to create that document, you would have had to spend hours on it. You would have had to call the tourist office, get a guidebook, Google all over the place. And this takes 10 minutes, maybe start to finish.
I would say a little bit more than that. It might take half an hour to 40 minutes just because you're double checking all the information.
Gotcha.
And you might not need to double check as much anymore, but I'm just doing it on the safe side. But 40 minutes compared to multiple hours.
Yeah, for sure.
If that makes sense. And on my last tour, I had a 16-page packet, and I gave it to everyone. Loved it, and all the information, itineraries. I ChatGPT helped me make. It was in Quebec, a French guide, facts about Quebec, itinerary for every day. I use helped with ChatGPT as well. Helps me make my itineraries for every day. A welcome letter. The whole welcome letters through Chat. So I wrote it myself, but I put it in ChatGPT to optimize it.
Yeah.
And every feedback it's amazing. And I barely have any questions. And I get so much feedback, and Mickey is super. When you do that, you look super organized because you are. And it's all done way in advance. You look like a pro. So no which other tour directors are giving the whole packet in advance. Here's everything you need to know about our tour. It's your homework tonight. Read it over. If you have trouble sleeping, read it over. It'll put you out like a light, like about it. And then it's always in there, right? And if I get a question, oh, by the way, it's in your document, but here's the answer for you, right?
Yeah.
And then they just go by that, and because people want to know what they're doing each day, and sometimes if you can have all the confirmations way in advance, and you make your itineraries in advance, it's even better.
Yeah. That is wonderful. Now, you mentioned that you go back and do a real world check of, the results ChatGPT gives you. And we've all heard stories about, the AIs generating incorrect information, hallucinating or something like that. So what is your process for making sure you get accurate information from the system and for double checking the system so that you don't embarrass yourself?
Yeah. So, it depends on the context. So dining guides, I make sure the restaurant's open. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
And you can verify that on Google. That's pretty easy, right? And it'll make a lot of mistakes. I use the paid version, so I don't know. I haven't used a free version, maybe only for the first month that I use a paid version. So I use ChatGPT 4.0 or whatever it's called. However, it'll give me some information. Sometimes it's not correct. I can see that because of my experience as well, right? But also, there's other. I can, if there's pertinent details that look off, I'll Google that as well. Certain things. It's hard to Google every little thing it tells you, or there's no point, right?
Yeah.
But I'll use Google, but also there's third-party apps. There's a few in there that are researcher ones. So they'll take what ChatGPT says, and they'll use a third-party app. I'm like, hey, is this accurate? Find any fallacies in here. And I'll go line by line telling you if it's accurate or not, and the source of the information. So now with third-party apps, it can even tell you the sources. So hey, the Colonel of Kentucky Fried Chicken was born on this day. Here's about him. Here's the source. So I'll go to the source and I'll check a bunch of them. And as long as most are accurate, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be 100% accurate. I know that. But I try to be as best as I can.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That makes so much sense. Do you mind to tell us how much you have to pay in monthly fees or something like that to get access to these tools?
So it's $20 US a month, I believe. If it was $200 a month American, I would still pay for it.
Wow. And that gets you access to the integrations as well, and not just the core
the
program?
Integration. I'm not even sure. Maybe even you can use the Explore GPTs in the free version too. So what I would say is use the free version. Even ask ChatGPT what the free version includes, right? And try to think of it. This is going to sound bad, but think of yourself like an extremely lazy person. What is something that I have to do the least amount of work to do? And that's the most efficient, right? Even if you're a very hard worker, and I'm sure most people are. So, and then take that route with it. And then when you use the paid version is just smarter, it's just a bigger brain. You're getting access to a bigger brain. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? But it's $20 a month or so US.
Yeah, that is absolutely amazing. I know that you present on this topic a lot. What are some ways that people can hear maybe some of the presentations you have done in the past, or connect with you, follow you, learn more about what you're learning about this tool?
Yeah, so I have a page called Tour Directing and AI. Tour Directing, 2 words, and AI on Facebook. You can join that and then just answer the questions. If you're a tour director or something like that, we can approve you in there. So a few hundred people in there now. There's a training video on there for free recording. It's a year old, but it's over a year old, but it's excellent. And the guy who did it's really smart.
Yeah. And if somebody wants to just connect with you, follow you on social, what platforms are you active on?
Facebook mostly. I have the tour director with Soul is on Facebook usually, Messenger, and mostly Facebook.
Yeah.
Instagram I don't use much, LinkedIn I don't use much, and all that.
Well, before we let you go, we have some questions we ask every guest, and these are just for fun. So no pressure. You can just answer off the top of your head. When you travel, are you booking a window seat or an aisle seat?
Oh, aisle. I'm 6'3", and a quarter. That's the most important part. So my left leg is good and my right leg is in pain, but I need an aisle seat.
Yeah, I totally get that. What's something in your carry-on that you wouldn't travel without?
Oh, that's, let's see here. My carry-on, my laptop.
Yeah.
Have to be my laptop.
Yeah, especially when you're working with ChatGPT so much. You can't go without that tool.
My phone, my laptop and iPad and massage gun.
Oh, yeah. Got to work out those sore muscles. I understand that. Yeah. If you had a free airline pass and a week with nothing else to do, where would you be headed next?
Home. I don't want to go anywhere right now. I've been traveling like crazy. I'm going to San Diego this month, and I have a Fort Washington. The next month, I'm off to England, Italy, and then Berlin. So to answer that question, I get the gist of the question. I don't want to go anywhere right now. Even if you paid me money to go, I probably wouldn't want to. Yeah. However, if I was going to go anywhere, it would be Brazil. I love Brazil. I'm learning Brazilian Portuguese. Wow. I have there's a website called Preply I use all the time. I have a instructor on there from Brazil that teaches me almost every day now for an hour or so. And then I use ChatGPT, mind you, to make flashcards and really speed up the learning process. So I got her on one side, I got ChatGPT on one side, and then it puts everything in context. Because if you use Google Translate, it doesn't understand context expressions. It's not nearly as good as ChatGPT in helping you. And ChatGPT can make you flashcards really quickly. So it massively speeds up your learning process as well.
How cool. I love that. Final question. What is one thing you have seen or done on the road that you wish you could go back and experience again with somebody you love?
I love to take my girlfriend to Moraine Lake. I think it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It's in Alberta. If you haven't seen the Canadian Rockies, which I never even knew about, even though I live an hour and 50-minute flight away, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And I take people up there, Brian? And I take people up the rock pile there and they see it, the 10 peaks and the beautiful water. And even the pictures look like they're fake, but people cry when they see it sometimes, And wow. I get so excited when I get to take people there. I'm like, I can't wait till you see the top. Yeah. And I wish I could show that to my mom. I will one day, and then my girlfriend too, and just see it for yourself. The first time I saw it, I'm like, how is it that Canada didn't tell us to go here? How is it that I didn't even know about this? Canadian Rockies, whatever. I want to go to, Las Vegas. No, this needs to be put in everyone. As a Canadian, it should be that you have to go to the Canadian Rockies, mandatory.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would take the Rockies over Vegas anytime. I think you're on the right track there. Micky, thanks so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Thanks, Brian. Take care.
Well, I sure hope you enjoyed that conversation with Micky Kandola as much as I did. I got to tell you, when Micky and I talked, I enjoyed the conversation so much that it actually went on, well, a lot longer than we have time for here on the podcast. That's right. I had to cut some really good content out of this interview, but fear not. You can hear my entire conversation with Micky when you watch this interview over on our YouTube channel. When you check out the YouTube interview, you're going to hear Micky's story of the baptism by fire that came with his first outing as a tour director. You're going to hear him talk about the prep work involved in leading tours well. Here's a hint. It's a lot more than you think. Micky is going to talk about how he protects his personal time and mental health when he's on the road. And he's going to give us a really easy explanation of how AI and large language models actually work. This is all great stuff. I hated to cut it from the conversation, but I do want to respect your time here on the podcast. So I would encourage you to head on over to YouTube, search for Gather and Go, or just click the link here in the show notes and check out the full interview. You'll be glad you did. Now, I want to take a minute to hit some of the highlights of what Micky had to say to make sure you don't miss some of this really insightful knowledge. When I asked Micky if AI is a threat to the tour industry, he said, "The people saying AI is going to take our jobs are the guests who are downloading an app and doing it on their own." He said, "This is about getting a tour operator to reduce your costs by 30 to 40% from doing it yourself, and I think it takes a human to do that." He said, "On a tour, people need a human contact. The commentary isn't the most important thing I do. The most important thing I do is connect with my guests and make sure they know they're taken care of. AI can't do that." He went on to say, "I think of AI as a tool, not as a replacement." You know, for all the hand-wringing in society at large about AI and how it might impact different businesses, I think Micky's approach is exactly right. There are so many elements of what we do in tourism that require a human touch and always will. So the conversation shouldn't be about, am I worried about AI? Is AI going to take my job? Is AI going to make me obsolete? The question should be about, how can I use AI as a tool to maximize my time and make sure I'm giving my customers the very best human-led travel experience they can get? And if that's the attitude you take into it, AI can indeed be a tremendous tool for anyone in the tourism business. Now, one thing I found fascinating was that Micky said he actually uses AI tools to evaluate his evaluations. Of course, this is referring to the surveys and evaluation forms that customers fill out about their tour directors and their travel experiences at the end of a trip. He said when he runs his surveys through AI, he said it will find trends and give examples and snippets of what people were saying, and it can give me a full report. He said, think of it like your super smart friend, the smartest person in the world. It knows everything, so I ask it to add its own knowledge. Now, I agree with Micky here. One of the things that AI can be really good for is taking big batches of data and finding the trends in the data. And what's great about it is that the AI doesn't have your biases, your fears, your tendencies, your concerns. So if you read through evaluations, you're going to read those through the lens of, well, yourself, your own personality. When AI reads through the evaluations, it's not going to be burdened by your biases and concerns. And it's more likely to return data that is really useful. And if you do what Micky is saying, which is take the aggregated data from the surveys and then ask the AI to go one step further and provide some of its own insights or tips, you might get some ideas that you would never have thought of on your own that could make you a more powerful or relatable or likable or effective tour professional. Finally, when I asked Micky about the accuracy problem with AI, Micky said, when it gives me information that's not correct, I can see that because of my experience. And if there are pertinent details that look off, I'll Google that as well. And he also said there are third-party apps that are researchers. They'll take what ChatGPT says and go line by line telling you if it's accurate or not and the source of the information. He went on to say, I know I'm not going to be 100% accurate, but I try to do the best I can. Of course, Micky is right. There are accuracy issues with AI, and who knows if those will ever go away. But I love his perspective here. He said, if there's something that's not correct, I'm going to see it because of my experience. You know, AI is a great tool, but there is no substitute for human experience and human judgment. So definitely, if you are going to use AI as a tool, then don't check your gut at the door. You want to rely on that gut. You want to use that intuition, lean on that experience. And if something doesn't look right, confirm it. You should never be publishing or handing out something that was generated by AI without checking it. But if you can check it and accept the fact that there are going to be some inaccuracies, fix them when they come up, use tools to find them, well, then you could find that AI is indeed saving you a lot of time in the long run. And for busy tourism professionals like you and me, anything we can do to save time is worth doing. Great stuff there from Micky Kandola. Well, last week I was talking to a friend in the tourism industry, and he asked me, kind of out of the blue, what I thought was the biggest opportunity that most tour operators are missing. Well, I thought about it for a second and gave him an answer. And, after the conversation, it made me think, these are thoughts that I should share with our Gather and Go community as well. Because if you are like most tour company owners, well, there is a big opportunity that you are likely missing. And that's going to be the topic of today's Hot Minute. Yeah, that's right. The Hot Minute is the portion of the program where I take 60 seconds to give you my unfiltered thoughts about an issue that impacts tourism every day. And today we're going to ask and answer the question, what is the biggest opportunity your travel company is missing? So let's put 60 seconds on the clock and get into it. The biggest opportunity you're currently missing out on is probably automation. Now, you may think you work in the travel business, but in many ways you work in the information business, because planning trips, marketing to your audience, accepting customer bookings, coordinating with vendors, well, these all require you to handle a lot of information. Now, from the moment someone first encounters your brand online to the moment they come home from a trip with you, every action you have with the customer can be tracked and optimized, and many can be automated. The points in your process where you or your team do the most monotonous work are the places you should start experimenting with automation first. Now, fortunately, there are a lot of easy and affordable options to help you with this now. Yes, there is going to be a learning curve, but if you stick with it, smart automation will make your travel business more manageable and more profitable. Well, that is the Hot Minute. That's how I see things anyway. Of course, as always, you are welcome to disagree with me, and we can still be friends. And hey, whether you agree or disagree, we would love to hear from you. You can send me your thoughts, questions, or the tasks you wish you could automate to podcast@grouptravelleader.com. I really enjoy hearing from you. I read every email that comes into that address. And hey, you never know. Your questions or ideas might just be the topic of the next Hot Minute. And while you're in the mood to give us some feedback, would you do me a big favor? Would you go to your favorite podcast playing app? And if you haven't already followed or subscribed to the show, do it there. And while you're there, if you would take a minute to leave us a rating, give us a review, those are super helpful. And I'm so thankful to every one of you who has done that so far. My thanks as well to Micky Kandola for joining us today. On the next episode, I'm going to bring you a really insightful conversation with Anna Cashman of Get Your Guide. She's going to talk about the super spenders who are shaping group travel and share all kinds of amazing data that she has found that will help you become a better and more successful travel seller. You're not going to want to miss that. Until then, though, remember this. At the end of the day, we're all on this trip together, so let's make it a good one. See you next time on Gather and Go. Gather and Go is hosted and executive produced by me, Brian Jewell. Our publisher is Mac Lacey. Danya Simmons is our creative director. Ashley Ricks is our circulation manager and graphic designer. Our sales team is Kyle Anderson and Talisa Reck. To advertise on the podcast, call Talisa at 859-253-0455. Gather and Go is a production of the Group Travel Leader. For more information about our magazines, podcasts, and events, visit us online at grouptravelleader.com. This episode was sponsored by Visit Atlantic City. This vibrant city awaits your arrival, and the knowledgeable staff is on hand to assist you with everything you need to make your group visit a success. Learn more at visitatlanticitycity.com.